Hello and welcome to the Crystal Palace podcast. I'm Alfonso Greenbrook and today, Pod 51, I'll be looking over the shock departure of Sam Allardyce and what this means for Palace over the summer and next season. I'll also be looking at the great news that Wilfried Zaha has signed a new 5-year contract extension to stay at Palace. I'll be discussing his impact on the team and how this could be the most important signing of the summer. As well as this, I'm also going to bring you exclusive interviews with both Sam Allardyce and Wilfried Zaha after this week's recent events. So let's begin. On Tuesday, to the great shock, surprise and disappointment from Chairman Steve Parish and fans alike, Sam Allardyce resigned from his role as Palace manager only weeks after saving Palace from relegation. Having been in the job for 5 months, Allardyce took over and helped the Eagles to avoid relegation, beating Chelsea, Arsenal and Liverpool in the process. Believes the Eagles having ended the season in 14th position. The club didn't release an official statement following his departure, but Allardyce released this statement. It read, "In some ways this has been a very difficult decision to make, but in others it has been a very simple one. I will always be grateful to Crystal Palace and Steve Parish for giving me the opportunity to go out with my head held high, having saved the club in the Premier League. More than that, they gave me a chance of rebuilding my reputation after what happened with England. I felt I needed another shot of being a Premier League manager and showing that I still have the ability to achieve something significant. As I said last weekend, Palace gave me a chance of rehabilitation. That's why it's hard walking away now. I think the club are heading in the right direction with a hugely supportive board of directors, a great squad of players and some of the most passionate fans I've ever met. It's been a privilege to have worked here for the past 5 months. But there comes a time when you have to take stock of what direction you want your life to take, and that's been the simple part for me. I want to be able to save a life whilst I'm relatively young and still relatively healthy enough to do the things I want to do, like travel, spend more time with the family and grandchildren, without the huge pressure that comes with being a football manager. This is the right time for me. I have no further ambitions to take any other job. I simply want to be able to enjoy the things you cannot really enjoy with the 24/7 demands of managing any football club, let alone one in the Premier League." Steve Parish has been superb during our conversations today. I know it came as a shock to him that I would walk away, but our discussions have been incredibly civilised with no reclamations and no fallout. This is not about transfer targets, finances or anything else along those lines. This is me taking a decision I feel is right for my family and myself. I would like to thank everybody for their messages of support since the news broke. I have no doubt I will miss management, but I certainly have no regrets at this decision. So now I'm going to give you my views on the departure of Sam Allardyce. But I must start off by thanking Sam Allardyce, Big Sam, firstly for keeping us up, which looked like an impossible task when he took over, but also for everything he has done over the past 5 months. He brought in new players in January, brought back the solidity and the fight and determination back into their team. When taken over from Alan Pardew, we were in a terrible place, just above the relegation zone and deep in the relegation battle. Despite a slow start, Allardyce slowly stamped his star on the side and brought back the solidity. He made sure we'd done the basics right defensively and remained solid, whilst at the same time having an attractive counter-attacking style, which saw the best come out of the likes of Wilfried Zaha, Andros Townsend, Yohan Cabarrot and Christian Benteke. His signings proved vital in our resurgence, with all the money spent in January proving crucial, with Sakho, Luca, Van Aanholt and Slop helping to shore up the team and provide us with a solid base once again. Once again, I would like to thank Allardyce for what he has done for Palace in keeping us in the Premier League for our record 5th season. Now obviously you heard in Sam Allardyce's statement the reasons why he wanted to retire, and I say sort of retire because we don't know, he could be back, he's 62, he could be back in management next year, but I am disappointed with the departure of Allardyce, and much like all the fans, because I thought he was going to stay on in the summer, getting a few more players and sort of try and build a place and leave a legacy by improving the academy and, you know, setting us up for another season in the Premier League. And I understand his reasons why he's left the club and why he's retired from football management. Obviously he wants to spend more time with his family, and I fully understand that and respect that. You know, he's getting on a bit, he wants to, like he said in his statement, he wants to, you know, cherish life whilst he's young and still healthy to do it. So I understand that, but I'm still disappointed because, you know, I thought he could build a legacy, you know, he could bring in new signings, grow the academy and just sort of stamp his style onto the team again and just keep us even more solid. And the thing really that disappointed me the most is he obviously knew maybe that he was coming to the end of his career and he wanted to come to Palace just to give him a sort of a better reputation, obviously after the England thing. So I understand that you want to come and improve your reputation, but when you sign off, I believe it was either a 1.5-year contract or a 2.5-year contract, when you sign that, you would want to stay for the length of it. So for that reason, I thought it's quite weird that he didn't stay for it, because at the end of the day, maybe 1 or 2 more years he could have left a legacy, maybe been one of our best managers, left on a really, really high note, and, you know, he could have gone on and to retire happily, but he's decided to end it now, you know, terminate his contract, which is fine. And like I've said, I fully, you know, I fully respect him for that decision, but I am disappointed, because I truly thought he was a manager to take us forward, take us to this next step, whether it be getting a trophy, whether it be, you know, hitting that top 10 again, whether it be, you know, growing the academy so we can get a few more academy players in. I and many fans thought that Sam Allardyce would be the man to do that, and that's why I'm disappointed, because I thought personally he would bring back the stability back to the club. But obviously, with him leaving now, we're left without a manager. But unlike past managers like Tony Pulis, where he left a few days before the start of the season, we've now got the whole summer to find a new manager. And also, you know, if we find a new manager within the next month, let's say, we've still got that new manager has got the whole of the transfer window to find players that suit his style. And that's the good thing about Allardyce. You know, Allardyce hasn't remained at the club, got in all the players in the summer and then left. He's left now, which gives us a chance to rebuild, get a new manager in, get new players in. And like I said, unlike Tony Pulis, who most Palace fans do hate because of what he done, you know, he's left us with plenty of time to reorganise and get things ready for next season. So obviously, like I said, we've got the whole summer now. So say a transfer rumour, well, there's rumours that we might get a manager within the next few weeks. So let's say we get one in 2 weeks' time. That manager will have a chance to analyse the squad, and then when the January transfer window opens in July, I believe it is, then he can start to mould his, you know, his team around the players he wants to bring in. And certainly the players being linked with us, they could certainly attract players. But like I said at the beginning, you know, I am disappointed at Allardyce left, because I'm sure he would be one of these people who who's got really good scouting network, so he could find all of these players like Luca who no one knew about but are really good. But also he's got that reputation within football where players want to play for him. So, you know, if we get a lesser manager, let's say, and I'll go on to talk about who's linked with the job, if we get a lesser manager, maybe they might not feel as attracted to the club as before. And obviously there's been many names put about, obviously with Marco Silva being the primary target, and actually, you know, my sources from the club, a few contacts I have at the club, actually said that yes, Marco Silva was having conversations, phone calls with Steve Parish, and we were expecting you know, the deal to be announced, you know, sort of Friday evening. But even though he had the talks with Palace, which are debatable, but like I said, that my contacts within the club said they were talks, you know, he's since gone to Watford. So obviously on Friday he had the conversations with Palace, it was going to be announced, and then on Saturday obviously it was announced he had gone to Watford. So good luck to him there, but you know, I don't think it's going to be an opportunity missed for Palace, because we know how Watford's track record is. So he might be sacked next season, and we may even find, you know, we would have gone for an even better option, you know, because, you know, Marco Silva, having seen what he's done at Hull, that probably would be the easy option. But if we go down maybe in the Championship, get a Championship manager or get another manager from abroad, maybe that sort of broadness and trying to get a player or get a manager that's out of the box and no one knows about, maybe that sort of change in style might actually be able to help us. And maybe it's a good thing that we missed out on Marco Silva, the fact that we have to look outside of the box for managers who we think will fit the system. Now obviously my personal preferences, every person's going to have different opinions, but my two preferences would be of either Roberto Mancini or Sean Dyche. And obviously when before Pardew got sacked, I was saying on Twitter that I wanted Mancini to come, and certainly I still have that same opinion. And the reason I thought I wanted Mancini to come is obviously he's currently on a free, so he's currently unemployed, so he'd be happy to take a job. And considering he won the league with Manchester City, he knows the Premier League quite well. So if he comes into Palace, he knows how the league works. And considering he won the league with Manchester City, he did actually play quite an attractive style of football. So maybe that's, with the likes of Townsend, Zaha and Benteke, maybe that may benefit them, the fact that we've got if we get a manager like Mancini who can do, you know, wonders with the squad. And obviously Sean Dyche, you know, this one I know for sure that the you know, Sean Dyche's agents have been in contact with the club. Obviously, like I said already, contacts at the club have told me that, so I know that Sean Dyche's you know, agents have been in contact with the club. We don't know whether it's going to happen or not, But let's say based on that, you know, they're starting to have conversations, and maybe, you know, you may say Sean Dyche, he had a good season with Burnley, he may not want to leave, but actually, you know, Burnley want to sign, they maybe want to sell a few of their players to cash in, you know, because the likes of Manchester United are putting big money for the likes of Keane. So maybe, you know, Sean Dyche is not happy with the board at Burnley, the fact that they're selling their best players, and maybe that might be why he might want to go to Palace. The fact that he wants to have a new step, a new challenge, because at the end of the day, most Burnley fans would probably say they've sort of hit their heights, they've hit their peak now, they've stayed in the Premier League, which is great for them, and they finished quite high up, you know, away from the relegation. So that's probably their sort of top they can go. So maybe Sean Dyche will be looking, you know, looking for a new challenge, let's say, and certainly Palace would be a challenge. And considering he's actually been interviewed for the Palace job before, and I believe it was under Tony Pulis, when Pulis left, he was certainly interviewed for the job. So certainly Steve Parish knows the qualities he's got and actually likes his style as a manager. But like I said, Sean Dyche, you know, I said Mancini's got a lovely attacking style of football. Sean Dyche, he's kept Burnley in the Premier League, so that's what we want. We want a manager who's able to keep teams in the Premier League. But also, he played quite a similar counter-attacking style to Sam Allardyce. So he likes to be solid at the back, which he done superbly with Burnley, and then counter-attack, which we saw a few weeks ago. They might not have the best strikers, but they counter-attack and then end up scoring. So the fact that they've got that similar style to us means that if Sean Dyche does come to Palace, which personally I would be hoping for, because he's one of my favourites to get the job, but if he does come in, it wouldn't have to change too much and drastically change the team and the setup, because he's got the players there who are capable of playing counter-attacking style, and I certainly would be happy. And yes, he plays counter-attacking style, which means he's very solid at the back, and you know, he's not always got the ball and we're not always attacking. But certainly, if you look at the likes of Andre Gray, he's been linked with the likes of Liverpool because of how well he's played at some parts of this season. So that's just showing that yes, Sean Dyche has that solid base, but also he's able to get the best out of the attackers like Andre Gray. But obviously they're my two managers I personally would prefer. You know, there's no right or wrong answer whether I think they should or not get the job, and do comment below with who you think. But I personally think Mancini and Sean Dyche, you know, both be good options for Palace, obviously, because Mancini's unemployed and played an attacking style of play. I think that will suit Palace very well. And then Sean Dyche, on the other hand, yes, he may not be the best attacking manager, but certainly defensively and counter-attacking wise, he personally would be, you know, ideal for Palace. And like I said already, I know for sure, having talked to contacts at the club, Sean Dyche's agents have been in contact, so whether that will materialise or not, we don't know. And it's actually been in the papers that we might have to pay a six-figure sum, maybe seven-figure sum, to get him to join Palace, obviously in compensation to Burnley. But even if that means we spend half of our transfer budget, if that means we get a manager who's proven in the Premier League and actually helps us to stay in the Premier League next season, then maybe it will be money well spent. But obviously there's a few names, you know, I've looked at the betting odds, there's a few names bouncing about who are, you know, are possibly linked with the job. They're not necessarily ones that have been proper stories in the press. These are just names that the betting companies have put out there for who they think the next manager will be. So the first one is Gary Monk. Obviously he's recently resigned from Leeds United. I personally don't think I really want him at Palace. You know, we saw what happened at Swansea. He started really well, and then one or two things went wrong. He lost his best player, and then it sort of went downhill from there. And considering Leeds United, they were trying to target the playoffs, they just missed out on that. So he didn't quite reach the targets of Leeds United, obviously, since resigned from there. So I don't think, you know, he's the right standard and hasn't got the right ambition that we need. Another name, Claudio Ranieri, you know, former Leicester City, obviously got sacked, you know, sort of middle of the season. I personally don't really want him because I think he's quite damaged from what happened at Leicester. And although he's saying in the press that he really wants to get back into management in the Premier League, I personally can't really see him joining Palace because I don't really think his style suits us. And yes, he may be a motivator, but like I said, his style I don't think really suits us. And I personally think, much like Sam Allardyce was damaged by the England job, I think the fact that he got sacked, Ranieri, from Leicester, I think it's really affected him. And I think considering how badly they played the beginning of this season, I think maybe he might not be the best option for us. Now, the other one here, which is quite debatable, and I've talked to a few people who follow the Championship, and they said we should definitely go in for this guy. And I'm not too sure. He hasn't really got Premier League, you know, the ability. He's never been proven in the Premier League. But having looked at the squad he's got and what he achieved with Fulham this season, I think that this guy, I think it's Slavisa Djukanovic. Okay, I'm sorry if I butchered that name, but the guy at Fulham, the manager at Fulham, I personally was a bit dubious, and I've seen in the media that we're willing to sign him up from Fulham, maybe a £2 million, £2 to £5 million fee in compensation to Fulham, and we've been linked with him quite a lot. And you know, like I said already, our contacts at the club, they've said to me he is possibly one of the ones that Steve Parish is looking at. Now, like I said at the beginning, I wasn't really sure about him. I said to my mate, you know, he Snapchatted me. I said, I'm not really keen on this guy. He's not proven in the Premier League. I don't want him. But having seen what people have said on Twitter, and these are people who obviously are Palace fans but do occasionally look at the Championship, they said that, you know, there's a few players there that if he does come to Palace, maybe he'll be able to attract these players, because these players are being linked with the likes of Liverpool and all these big Premier League clubs. So if you've got the manager who's going to a Premier League club, maybe that will just, you know, change the players' minds, and maybe they might want to join Palace as well. And these two players are Ryan Sessegnon and Tom Carney, I believe that's how you say it. Obviously, Ryan Sessegnon being the left back / left wing for Fulham, and then Tom Carney, I'm sorry if I butchered it, but yeah, he's a cam / centre mid, so he's a midfielder, and we need a creative midfielder. So if this guy, Slavasia, does come to Palace, then certainly if he can bring Tom with him, you know, then give us that sort of attacking threat, a guy who got into the Championship team of the season. If we can get someone like that who would add a bit more creativity, and maybe he's quite relatively young and will be the replacement for Puncheon, I think that would be a good thing. And then same for Ryan Sessegnon, he's been linked with the likes of Liverpool, but we do need a left winger, and if the likes of Sacco and Lee Chung-yong are to leave the club, you know, although Ryan Sessegnon mainly plays as a left back, he's scored lots of goals for Fulham this season, so if we play him as sort of a left wing role, maybe coming off the bench, or maybe moving Zaha up front with Benteke and moving Townsend back to the right hand side and play a 4-4-2, if we play that sort of style, then maybe, you know, Ryan Sessegnon can move into that position. But like I said, I don't know much about the Championship because I don't really follow it, and I don't know much about the manager. But having read about him, you know, he's probably one of the most likely people to get a job along with Sean Dyche. So it could be quite possible that we will get him. And at the time of recording, the most likely one, you know, according to my sources and according to what's in the media, it looks like it's probably Sean Dyche or this guy from Fulham. But like I said already, I don't think he's got enough. He's never been in the Premier League, so he hasn't got that sort of Premier League experience. But if, like I said, he gets a chance to do what he done, if he can continue what he done with Fulham last season by keeping them solid at the back and also, you know, getting them to the playoff with their attacking style of football, if he can do that in the Premier League and prove that he doesn't need the experience in the Premier League and do something well, and like I said, get these two players in as well. If he can get these two players in, then certainly I would be all for it for him going there, and it would be Palace's first permanent non-British / Irish manager, so that would be creating history in itself. But like I said, you know, if he does come to Palace, I want it to be because he'll bring these two other players with him. Another one being linked with the job is David Wagner from Huddersfield Town. Obviously got into the playoffs. Having watched the playoff semi-finals, I thought his team Huddersfield Town played fantastically, and obviously as proof this season they finished quite high up in the Championship. So he's another option, much like the Fulham manager, who, yes, they haven't got Premier League experience, but they've shown what they've done in the Championship, and maybe if we give them the funds and they bring a few of their players from their past club who are good enough for the Premier League, if they bring them, maybe, you know, they could do something for us. And then Roy Hodgson, ex-England, no. And then Atul Kriyanka, the ex-Middlesbrough man, I don't want them as well. These two are proven that they're not very good managers. Obviously Kriyanka, you know, yes, he got so Middlesbrough defensively sound and quite solid. Offensively he was terrible, and that was why they were in a relegation battle. And as for Roy Hodgson, he's just a really bad manager. He's really old now, so he'd probably be at Palace for only a year or something like that. He's really old, his style's unattractive, and as you've seen with England, it was really disappointing what happened at the Euros, and I think other than the players, he was obviously the main cause for that. But like I said here, these are the sort of 6 main sort of nominations. Let's say the betting odds for who the bookies reckon who will get the job. But like I said at the beginning, I think for me either it will be Sean Dyche, David Wagner, or Slaviza Djukanovic from Fulham. These 3 I personally would be happy with, and the same goes for Mancini. But like I said, the 2 Championship managers, yes, they've done good in the Championship and they could bring their players who are Premier League quality to the club, but I personally think, you know, I don't think they've got enough Premier League experience. But we'll just have to wait and see. And maybe by the time you view this video, maybe we would have got a new manager. But at the time of recording, like I said, Sean Dyche and the Fulham manager are looking the most likely people to get the job. But obviously, like I said already, all of these 6 players, I don't really want them because either they're not good enough, the likes of Karanka and Hodgson, they're not really good enough for the job. But also, I don't think they're fit into our system. So Roy Hodgson plays really, really defensive, unattractive football, won't fit in. Karanka, we've got really good attacking threat, but he concentrates too much on defending, which means you can end up not scoring goals because you're concentrating too much on defending, whilst at the same time you're not actually really good at it. And to be honest, all of these managers, yes, the bookies have, you know, put them on the shortlist to get the job. But actually, like I said, the sources at the club tell me that we've been in contact with Sean Dyche's agents, so if this deal could materialise, I feel that he'll probably be the greatest fit. Because like I said, he's been interviewed for the job before and is probably up for the new challenge with Palace, obviously. Because like I said, he's probably hit the height with Burnley already. And I've said this already. I think he'll be a great fit to Palace. The system we play is very similar to Sam Allardyce. And considering our home form has been terrible this season, with Burnley they had the 3rd best home form in the league this season. And I think that was behind Tottenham and maybe Man United. So that's just showing that actually our home form's been really bad, but Sean Dyche has had a really good record with his home form, so maybe he could bring that back to Palace and help make Selhurst Park a fortress again. But like I said, do comment below with your manager preferences and who you think should get the job, and that's obviously providing the decision hasn't been made since the video has gone out. But like I said, all of these managers being linked with us, I wouldn't really be happy with them because they either, like I said, not good enough or haven't got the experience in the Premier League. But also I think that the ones we've been linked with and the ones I know have been in contact with the club, certainly Sean Dyche I personally think will be a perfect fit. But obviously now I've got an exclusive interview with Sam Allardyce where he explains his reasons for his surprise departure from Crystal Palace.
And joining us live from his home is Sam Allardyce, the former Crystal Palace manager. Retired or resigned, Sam? What's happened?
Both.
Both?
Both. It's both, yeah. So it's been a good end to the season. I think that on the basis of the time spent and the length of time I've managed in the Premier League, and I think that the job that I've done, it's the right time for me, and spend a little bit more time with the family and the grandchildren, and do the things that you want to do. I think that there'll be a little time of edginess and itchiness probably when the season starts next. A bit of withdrawal symptoms, but I think that this time we have to get over that and enjoy life.
For us all, Sam, particularly so quickly after the latest survival operation, we were stunned. But it must have been something you were thinking about. You presumably didn't wake up last Tuesday morning and say to yourself, I'm out.
No. I think that doing the job as long as I've done it, and then of course, you know, that the jobs that are available to you are only going to be saving jobs. They're only can you save another football club, Sam? Can you stop another football club from getting relegated? Can you come and do the job that helps this football club out of trouble? And I think that that brings a huge amount of pressure on you. You've also want to keep your record of not getting relegated, but you know, for me, that, you know, I've always been much more than that. I've always considered myself much more than that. But that's the tag, if you like. That's the way it is. But I really don't want to be involved in perhaps that situation again, because I've done it so many times. So I think the right time for me and right time for family is to move on and enjoy the rest of life outside of football, and not so upfront with it right in the face of it. And it gets ever more difficult, Richard, as Tony will tell you. You know, the price of players, the amount of money you have to pay for a player today, the fact that builds expectation. And I think the expectation is far outweighs the reality, really, because the amount of money you have to pay, the player that comes in, everybody expects him to be a world beater. And of course, that's not the case anymore. You get an improvement, which we did in January, and enough improvement to get out of trouble. But that was a massive investment by the owners to back me up. We spent the circa 36 million, and that helped us get out of trouble in the end.
Yeah, well, disappointing, but obviously it's not an emotion you share. You obviously look quite pleased to be out of it. But I sense still, Sam, some frustration that you didn't get the job you really wanted. Was the England job the only big job you think you were ever going to get?
Yes, there's no doubt about that. I think that everybody knows me. Everybody knew how much it meant to me, and of course. It didn't last very long, unfortunately, 67 days. But, I did achieve it. I did get there. I did manage England for 67 days. So I hit the top of the pinnacle of my career, even though as short as it was. And unfortunately, due to those circumstances, being what was in the cold light of day, if you look back on it, something that perhaps people should have taken a little bit more time over, actually finding out what really happened, because I really didn't do very much, if hardly anything, I think, to lose that job.
On Thursday evening, all Palace fans' fears were relieved, as the long-awaited news about Wilfried Zaha's contract extension were confirmed by the club, as Zaha put pen to paper on a new 5-year deal. The club released this statement late on Thursday evening. Crystal Palace FC have agreed a new 5-year contract extension with the homegrown star Wilfried Zaha, securing the winger's long-term future with the club. Zaha has been awarded Palace's Player of the Season for the past 2 campaigns, and was instrumental in securing the club's 5th consecutive season in the Premier League. The Ivory Coast international has made 258 appearances for the Eagles over 2 spells with the club, scoring 34 goals. Zaha said, "Palace is in my heart, and I don't think the story is over. I spoke with Steve, and I think I still have more to give this club. The supporters have been amazing, and I want to do more than just stay in the league next year. I would like to thank the chairman for being a big part of my journey, and his fellow owners for backing me and rewarding my progress. Let's do this." Commenting on the news, chairman Steve Parish said, "Wolf has been at the club since he was 8 years old, and in the first team since the day I arrived. He is our talisman and someone that week in week out gives everything for the red and blue. I'm delighted he has committed his future to us and look forward to climbing the table with him next year." On completing his 5-year contract extension, Wilfried Zaha was pleased to be completing the negotiations just a week after the season's conclusion. "It is a nice feeling for me personally to get the contract signed as soon as possible after the season," he said. "It's a good reassurance to see how much the club believes in me and are backing me, and I'm delighted to be extending my contract with the club." The home victory against Hull City saw the Eagles turn their attentions towards preparing for another campaign in the Premier League, and the 14th place finish was just one that their winger looks back on in a positive frame of mind. "Looking back, I feel it was a good season for me and one that I want to build on what I achieved. But I'm already thinking about increasing the number of goals I scored this season. My game is about scoring goals and providing assists, so that is something I'm always trying to improve on, and next season will be no different." The squad showed a lot of belief in themselves to make sure we would remain a Premier League club. "We know that the lads had the quality, but we needed to realise we were capable of getting results, and play to a structure which meant we had the belief that we could get results." The 24-year-old scored 9 goals in the season, with 2 of those named in the Goal of the Season nominations, and he had no hesitation in picking his favourite. "I would have to say my favourite would be the one away to Hull in our 3-3 draw. It's also probably one of the best goals I have scored, and when looking back at those I've scored over this season, that would have been the one I would have picked out." Wilfried won both the Players and Fans Player of the Year awards, and he was grateful that his performances over the whole season were recognised for both awards. "It was massive for me and so nice to see that the hard work I was putting in was being appreciated, and it's a tremendous thank you to all the fans and also my fellow teammates. It gives me such a happy feeling to see that the work I'm putting in is being seen, and I'm really pleased with the recognition for all concerned." Having signed a new contract, attention is already turning to next season, and Wilfried believes that Palace should be aiming for further improvements in their record-breaking 5th season in the top flight. "I feel we can easily be a top 10 team with some additions to an already strong squad. Once again, it's about having that belief. We finished 10th the season before and we can do it again. The club has come a long way in our time in the Premier League, but it takes time, and we just need to keep building, but that can be done. Being one of the squad who grew up close to the stadium, he feels such pride in wearing the red and blue, and Zaha just wants to be part of a club that realises its potential and moves on to the next level. I used to live literally a minute's walk from the stadium, so to be one of the fans' favourites and someone that they voted for the Player of the Season gives me such a special feeling. To have such love from the fans is so big for me and is a massive achievement, and one that I'm so proud of as someone who grew up locally. I'm delighted that I'm here to stay and just want to kick on next season and aim for that top 10 finish in the Premier League. So now I'm going to give you my views on the news that Wilfried Zaha has signed a new 5-year contract extension. Now obviously before I go on to talk about how important I believe this signing is and how it could possibly be one of the best signings we will make this summer, I'm just going to give you a few sort of stats from Zaha's season just to give you an idea of how crucial he will be next season now that we've secured his signature. So just to start off with the goals, you know, he scored 7 goals this season, which is his best return in the Premier League but also in his professional career. He also got 9 assists, which means he's in the top 10 for assists in the Premier League this season, which is a massive achievement. And considering I think it was about 60% of our goals have come from either Zaha or Benteke, it just shows how crucial he is in the fact that with his assist he's helping Benteke to score goals. And certainly that's something which has improved with his final product, is the fact that he can now put in pinpoint crosses. We saw it against Middlesbrough, we've seen it against Liverpool. He can put these crosses in, and finally he's starting to get even more assists. Obviously, talking about assists, he had 105 crosses throughout the season, so showing that he's trying to put the balls into the area for Benteke. And actually, people say that he's a diver, and especially Watford fans, they're quite bitter about it. But actually, he was the most fouled player in the Premier League. So this is not based on how many times a player goes to ground under a challenge. This is actually when a player is taken down, when it's actually a foul. So 111 fouls this season, the most in the Premier League, just shows that actually, like Allardyce said before he left, you know, Zaha does need more protection because he's getting frustrated because he keeps getting tackled and nothing's happening. And that was evident in the Man United game, where loads of Man United players kept tackling, kept, you know, bringing him to the ground, and actually they didn't get booked for any of the fouls, even though, you know, realistically it should have really been a booking. And obviously, in contrast to that, he had the most take-ons as well. So obviously 147 take-ons. That's even more than Eden Hazard. And if you look at all the European leagues, he's only a few off Neymar. So just showing that Zaha this season, with the take-ons, using his skill to run at players, to get past players, that skill he's got is putting him in the upper brackets with the likes of Hazard and Neymar. So just showing how well he's been this season. But if you look at all these stats, you know, 16, he's been involved in 16 of our 50 goals we've scored in the Premier League this season. That is quite incredible when you look at it in that respect, that actually him and Benteke have contributed to basically maybe 60% of our goals, which shows how crucial they are. But, you know, as you can see, these stats here just show, you know, the fact that he's up there with one of the best players for take-ons, and the fact that he keeps getting fouled shows how good he is. The fact that he's up there in that upper bracket for Premier League players shows how good he's been. And we all knew he was the best player this season. We already knew that. Under Pardew, he was fantastic, scoring goals, getting assists. And obviously under Allardyce, he continued to improve and get better, and he fully deserves the Fans Player of the Year. Obviously, I myself did vote for him, and there was only one standout winner for me, you know, and also the Players Player of the Season. So obviously, all the players in the team, you know, like to Benteke punching, they appreciate the work that Zaha does in the team, and obviously that's why he got nominated for not only the Fans Player of the Year, but also the Players Player of the Year, and that's so important for us. The fact that we've got a player who's won the award twice in a row now. I think he's got about 4 or 5 Player of the Year awards now, which just shows how crucial he is to the Palace setup. The fact that he keeps winning awards and keeps being the best player, and hopefully with us keeping him here for even longer, that means he can continue to grow as a player and hopefully, you know, help us to push on. And like he said himself, he wants us to try and reach the top 10. Then surely this is a sign that we're trying to do that, because we're keeping our best player, and hopefully he can propel us forward to that stage. But obviously his signature will now mean that Palace have secured his services for another 5 years, and hopefully the likes of Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham, who've been linked with signing him, that will sort of put them off trying to sign him, because it's not like they would go to these clubs because they want more money, because Zaha's already on 110 grand a week now. So obviously Zaha wouldn't move for money, but maybe he may move for maybe Champions League, Europa League football. But the fact that we've now signed him up on a new deal means that they're not likely to sign him for the next few transfer windows, which means the likes of Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham, it's not a matter of them giving him more money than he's already on. It's about whether Zaha's ambitions are to stay at a club where he's loved and he feels the connection to it, or whether he wants to move on and maybe get Europa League football. But, you know, this sort of signing shows obviously the intent by the club to obviously keep our best players and try and build on next season and try and, you know, further improve the squad. But also it shows that Zaha isn't worried about, you know, the money. He's not worried about going to Tottenham or going to Liverpool so he can get a massive pay packet. He's happy to stay at Palace, try and help us reach top 10. He's happy to be loved by the fans. He's happy to be where he started his career. So he's happy with that. So it's, you know, this deal just shows obviously the ambition of the club to keep the best players, but also it shows that Zaha, he's not worried about the money necessarily. He just wants to play for the club. And obviously, as you'll hear in the interview I'm going to show you in a few minutes, you can see that he's quite passionate about the club. But to be honest, I said this at the beginning just to go over it really, this will probably be the most important signing of the summer, more so than the players we get in the transfer window, whether we're getting a new defender, new goalkeeper, new striker. These won't be as crucial as signing Wilfried Zaha, and that's just because, you know, his pace, skill, creativity, his crossing and his end product, you know, you won't get a player who's got all of these qualities, and the fact that you won't get a player who has that much passion for the club. And, you know, I've said this already, we need maybe 6, 7 more players in the summer window, but certainly this is the most important one because you're keeping your best player, and because he's got progressively better over this season. Hopefully next season he can continue to grow and become even better. And the fact that he's now training with the Ivory Coast as well, you know, playing with some world-class players in the Ivory Coast setup, that's going to help him to even further improve. And if you look at our starting 11, you know, if we keep Townsend, Benteke and Zaha, that is a formidable force. You know, most clubs maybe in the top half of the table would love to have that, because you've got pace of Townsend and Zaha, you've got the crossing ability of both Townsend and Zaha, and then you've got that strength, physicality and heading ability of Benteke. So by keeping Zaha in, that will hopefully, you know, make our front three stay at the club, and that is a formidable force, and it is so important that we kept Zaha, because to be honest, his pace, you know, where he can run at defenders, his skill when he can get past them, the creativity, the crossing, and obviously the end product where he's chipping in with a few goals, that is a joy to watch. And the fact that we've secured it now for another 5 years, it's going to be really nice to watch. And to be honest, I can't wait to see him play next season, because he's been absolutely a joy to watch. So it'll be even more so next season. But that front three will be absolutely fantastic to watch, because like I said, it's got the physicality, heading ability and the pace. And like I said, most clubs would love to see that. And you know, as Zaha said himself, he obviously said there's a lot more to come from him this season, so obviously he's going to be working himself to try and get better and try and give more to the team, even though he's given his absolute most at the minute. So he's going to try and get even more end product, try and chip in with more goals. And as he said, he wants us to reach our potential, which is top 10. If that's his ambition, if he believes the club can do that, and he can help propel the club by scoring more goals, getting a few more assists, linking up more with players, then certainly, you know, I'm going to love watching him next season. If he's got that passion, he's got that ambition, so hopefully that will propel him on to further improve us next season. And to be honest, I can only see him getting better. He said it himself, he's going to improve. I can only see him better. And you know, on the Crystal Palace Twitter account, they've done an interview with Dean Austin, obviously ex-Palace captain, and he said, you know, Wilfried Zaha, he's just completely different to any other player you got. And to be honest, for him, the sky's the limit. You know, I said to you already, he's up there in the upper brackets of stats for take-ons with the likes of Zaha and Hazard. So the fact that he's up there shows that the sky's the limit for him. He can continue to get better, and eventually he could become a world-class player, because certainly he's got the potential. So hopefully Dean Austin, having coached Zaha in his younger ages, hopefully he's right. And to be honest, the 4 phrases Dean Austin actually used to describe Zaha was a maverick, a free spirit, a grafter and a winner. And personally, I think that these 4 phrases, words, describe him off a tee. I think a maverick, the way he plays, that sort of skill he's got, the free spirit, the fact that he's got that passion, a grafter, and the fact that he puts everything in to getting something for the team, and also a winner, because he always tries to set up in the game, try and win the game, and he's always the game changer. He's the one who does that cross, he makes that cross, he's the one who makes that run, puts pressure on the defenders. He's the one this season who has actually made the difference. And like I said, these 4 words, I personally think sum up Zaha perfectly. And the fact that Zaha has now decided to remain at the club for his future obviously shows the ambition of the club to keep our best players and push on next season, but also it shows that Zaha wants to stay at the club, has the passion, he wants to stay and make a legacy here. And certainly I personally see him as a club legend already. If he left, say, in the summer and he didn't try and sign a new deal, he certainly would have been a legend in my books, because he'd probably be our best player ever. The fact that he scored the goal, he scored lots of goals, got assists, helped us get promoted, all things like that. But the fact that he's stayed on now, he's got an even better chance to leave a legacy, become even more of a legend. Because, you know, I've heard people say this on Twitter, he's probably most fans' favourite player now. You know, most people used to like Andy Johnson, but now Zaha, he's coming back into the team, coming back from Man United. He's been fantastic, outstanding, and certainly I personally have already put him above Andy Johnson for my favourite player ever. So hopefully, like I said, with him staying on for the 5 years, and hopefully, you know, the likes of Tottenham, and because, yeah, hopefully the fact that we push on next season and maybe get top 10, that will sort of put off the likes of Tottenham, because Zaha wouldn't want to move there because he's happy at Palace where we are currently, if obviously we get into the top 10. But do comment below with what you think about Zaha signing a new contract, whether you think it's great ambition by the club, whether you think it's all about Zaha's passion, and whether you do like that in a team. But like I said, anything you think about Zaha's commitment to the club, then do comment below. And the thing that really surprised me, you know, yes, Zaha's passionate about the club and he's committed, but it shows that he's so committed that even when we have no manager, we're managerless, we've got no manager, he's still willing to sign for the club, which shows that he's happy with the ambition of the club, and obviously he's got the passion. But like I said at the beginning, I'm now going to give you an exclusive interview with Wilfried Zaha following his contract extension.
Wilf, congratulations on signing the new contract. You must be really pleased to get it done nice and early.
Yeah, obviously I'm buzzing because it just shows the club obviously believe in me, and they rewarded me for the season we had, so I'm happy.
And a message for the fans, they're obviously delighted. They've been all over social media for the last 24 hours. They voted you Player of the Year for the second time. They want you here. You're delighted to be here. It's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously I appreciate the massive support I get every single game, and I'm glad I managed to sort out my contract to just show them that I'm here to stay, really. So it's good all round.
And I suppose now a little break, then some international duty, and then back into pre-season. But at least it's all done now. You can concentrate and be really focused into the new season.
Yeah, that's why I was so happy that it was done as soon as it was, because it just lets me relax. Because obviously, what's it called? I don't think I'll be playing international because I'm slightly injured, but it gives me some time to rest and prepare myself for next season.
We've got an exciting pre-season, summer tours, some big games coming up, and then obviously it's on to the new season. We've all got our favourite Wilf memories. I know mine is you hammering 2 against Brighton. But what would be your favourite Palace moment so far?
It would probably have to be that same game as well, because obviously I'm sure the odds were against us to lose that day, because as soon as Glenn got injured, and during that season we went over there and lost 3-0. So obviously going away to them with no Glenn was definitely a loss. Everyone probably thought we were going to lose, so winning that game is probably the highlight of my Crystal Palace career so far.
And plenty more to come, and we're playing Brighton in the Premier League next season.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to next season.
So there you have it. Now you've heard my opinion on Allardyce's departure and Wilfried Zaha's new contract extension. That concludes this week's podcast. As the season is now finished, there'll be no more podcasts till the start of next season, but do look out for our season review, new kit and transfer podcasts, which are due to come out over the next few months. But in the meantime, don't forget to up the Palace!